Thanks for
Hi.
being back on the Homeless Left, man. I'm happy that you're here right now, especially in these crazy times, and especially what's going on in New York City right now. How is your campaign going? And I want to ask you, we're gonna get into Mamdani first, but I first want to ask you, how is everything going with your campaign against the Zionist Richie Torres right now?
Well, we are actually out in the streets giving out leaflets and out with signs, still trying to raise the consciousness about the fact that we have a deranged president right now who's making all kinds of terrible decisions that will probably push us into a nuclear war. That's what we're focused on right now, and also the fact that we're still plunging into this technocratic fascism through elements like Palantir that have taken over just large swaths of our policies that are currently centralizing Americans and non-Americans' data so that they can influence people and make decisions for them. And they want to do that probably starting, within the next 2 years, when they're going to actually start rolling out, how they're going to start influencing people. Not that they aren't already doing it, but we're going to see it on a absolute mass, giant scale. So it's pretty scary times right now. And that's kind of where my campaign is focused on right now. I haven't commented too much on the mayoral race, other than I think, is it a net positive? Yes, although I can't wait for Pasta to come back, because I'm sure he'll tell me all the tea on Zoran being a Disney actor, which I did recently find out. His mom, he quoted himself saying it pays off to be a nepo baby and hardworking. His mom, of course, was the famous director who made Mississippi Masala, and his dad's an academic, and a lot of people are saying Obama 2.0, AOC 2.0. Quite frankly, I think the fact that he was able to win anyway might be a victory, and it shows that there is a population that is tired of people bending the knee to Israel. But it's almost kind of comical. Anyway, I'm sorry, I don't mean to redirect. You asked me about my campaign. It's going well, and if people want to continue, we're going to be out. We're going to actually have a big distribution this Saturday, a big canvassing event this Saturday. And if people want to join and be a part of that, they can go to votevega.nyc. The volunteer button still works.
That's great, man. And when and if you're in New York and you're in the district, when is the big day coming? When is the primary date? Is this
1 year and 5 months? November of 26. That's the general election date.
So this is the time to get people even just aware that you exist, that you're here, and you're the only one that's going to be able to challenge this guy. He doesn't have any Democrats that are legit going after him, or is he?
Well, but that's the thing. Hey, there's Pasta.
There he is.
That's the thing. They're looking for somebody to primary him right now. People are coming off of this excitement with the Zoran win, and they want somebody to primary him.
Okay.
But, there's all this talk about reforming the Democratic Party. They want a Democratic Tea Party. I don't want that. I think that's horrible. Like the Track APAC account right now is saying, oh, Michael Blake, this guy, Michael Blake, a candidate who ran for mayor, who was the former DNC vice chair, should be somebody who, primaries Richie Torres in the Democratic Party. I mean, come on, these people are horrible. You know what? Now they're going to throw in the old establishment in there to try and just get rid of the worser establishment. This is still lesser of two evilisms thing, and I'm not for it. So I'm sticking to my guns and I'm staying independent.
That's great, and it's all about independent. I mean, we've learned the hard way. Obviously, we learned with Bernie. We learned with all the trauma we've been through with the Democratic Party. We're ready to say it's all about being independent. We're not going to be and by the way, we're not going to be suckered over into the red side just because they said we're building a coalition. We got all the stranded Democrats. We got the RFKs and the
and they're retarded.
It didn't. Yeah. Craig came up with a new name for them. They're called retarded if they're in the Republican Party and don't understand it's the same capture we had in the Democratic Party. Might be a little worse because these guys are totally psychotic Zionists. I think Democrats are unaware of the Zionists that run their party. Some of them are, not to give them excuses, but I don't think they're fully aware of how bad it is on their side. But the point is, you're doing it right. You're in the independent space, and I think that's now more than ever. It's the time to promote the independent space, because people need to know it exists and it's there. And even just for a state of protest, it's the way to go. You don't protest by going to the other party. You find a way, a voice, the message that's closest to your heart and your beliefs and your needs. You find it in the independent space. And that's why I think it's so important what you're doing, Jose. Let's get to the Mamdani thing, because I think that there is an important conversation to be had here. And I do think Craig's going to bring a good nuanced perspective, because we did speak before the show, and I did appreciate he does actually have a perspective on this. I think is worth let's look at let's look at this. Okay, so we'll break this down, and then we'll see how this affects the rest of the voting population beyond the local level, national level, and then what comes on from there. But here's the news from AP after he got won the primary here. AP saying Democrats are fret about national fallout after Mamdani stuns in New York City. The stunning success, Mamdani, 33-year-old self-described Democrat socialist in the race for New York City mayor, has exposed the fiery divisions plaguing the Democratic Party as it struggles to repair its brand nearly half a year into Trump's presidency. A fresh round of infighting erupted among Dem officials, donors, and political operatives on Wednesday, a day after Mamdani's leading opponent, Governor Cuomo, conceded the Democratic primary. Mamdani appears on a glide path to the nomination, though ranked choice voting counting will determine the final outcome next week. And then he put this out. This is his big congratulations. In the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. My friends, it's done. You were the ones that did it. I'm honored to be your Democratic nominee for the mayor of NYC. And of course, by evoking Mandela, we're talking about, this was a ground up movement. And we did it. We battled those guys. We beat them ground up, but we did it with a D next to our name. So we are the color blue doing this. So this is, I think now we got to get into the next part of this discussion. The similarities to what we've seen with Bernie, the independent who can't get the blue off of him. He refused to get blue off of him. But when he was leading in the polls, even in 2020, there was a moment where they were panicking. It's a panic attack. And so that's familiar to me, this panic attack. What are we going to do? The Democratic Party is going so far left. It's become communist, socialist, and now they are terrorist sympathizers. That's the other part we add to the mix. That's worse than when we were with the Bernie part, where they were freaking out. Oh my God, we got this guy. He's taking the party hostage, and he's going to go off the left, just completely off the rails. I'm going to play. This is the panic attack we saw right before he got the primary. So you guys understand, like, this is, and some of this could be fake, it could be real, but this is what they're trying to present to the public, that there is panic going on with this radical lefty who is for humanitarian issues, doesn't want a genocide to happen, refuses to bow down to Israel. This is how upset they are about it.
About how there is, dare I say, like a little bit of a panic attack happening, I think, in the business community about how close to the wire, down to the wire this is going. I think that the business community was hoping for Cuomo to win, and now this avowed socialist is, at least from Polymarket and Kalshi and some of these other polls and things, either very close or in some case winning. What's going on inside the minds of the CEOs that work with you?
Well, I think they've noticed there's a race, and they're not terribly happy with the direction it's going. That would be correct.
Is that the polite way to put it?
Probably so, but terror would be perhaps more accurate.
Terror. So invoking terror. This might be worse than the, oh my God, Bernie is going to destroy the party with his radical lefty ideas. This might be worse, but let me throw it to you, Jose. Is this legitimate panic, and is this a legitimate milestone, a win for real leftism, real humanitarianism, a moment of saying no, we don't bow down to Israel? Is this a real win, or is this theater that might be about keeping people in the Democratic Party, people who are thinking of leaving or people who had left? They're coming back for this. What are your thoughts?
first of all, Zoran comes from a Nepo baby background that he doesn't hide. He's he's a Nepo baby background. You know what that is? You don't know what that is? How old are you?
52.
Jesus Christ. Come on. A nepotism baby. Short for Nepo, meaning his parents, like his mom is a director, a Hollywood director.
Okay.
Dad, academician, Zoran, his mom directed some Disney movie where she starred her son in it, or at least put her son in it. He's an actor, and then he became an assemblyman. He's somewhat independently wealthy, I believe. That being said, it's almost kind of comical on retrospect that it's almost like this was handed to him on a platter, that his biggest competition was this guy who groped 13 women and he called them all liars, and this old creepy guy. And then they asked at on the debate stage, what's the first foreign place you're going to go visit? And everybody there is trying to bend the knee to Israel more and more and more. And he's like, I'll just stay here. That's like, why, that's just so common sense, of course. And then now that he's won, all the Republicans are trying to make this, they're saying like some completely racist things, saying, he's going to have 9/11 happen again. It just seems too perfect. It seems too curated. It seems too good to be true.
Conspiracy theorist.
Which is like, but at the same time, I want to have hope. He's going to be my mayor. And, if he is my mayor, fine. We will see what happens. First of all, I'm not against public supermarket. I was on Redacted earlier, and I said, I don't disagree with some of his policies. And then they were like, socialism is bad. And I was like, oh,
Redacted?
Boy. Oh,
yeah, Redacted.
Of course.
What's wrong with Redacted? What is this?
Well, no, Clay and his wife, right? That's that Redacted. Yeah, they're anti-socialist, anti-communist for hardcore. That's the one part. The one thing I don't like about them, and I've been on crosstalk with Clay, and we agreed on almost everything on that show. But I mean, that's another thing that really makes a lot of the Republican Party people, and I think they're more independents, but that's what makes a lot of Republicans retarded, is that they just kind of like everything they think is bad is communism or socialism. And really, we're living in a quasi-socialist environment. We are a capitalist nation, but we have Social Security, public roads. We have a lot of socialism embedded into our, society. And I think that I don't want to get too far off. I want you to finish your thoughts, because you're hitting on so many things that I've talked about. I mean, I made a list of 4 things, and you've already hit pretty much all of them. You know what I'm saying? This is a great opportunity, I think, to talk about socialism versus capitalism, right? The problem is that we have this mentality that you have to go on one side or the other. You have to pick one side, socialism or capitalism. I think we need to get a little bit more in depth, and that's why I'm happy that Caleb's coming on the show today, is because, for instance, they're like, Post, are you a socialist? And I say no. But I do believe central planning could work. I do believe we are one species on one planet that's got to play nicely in the sandbox. This is something I love about the LaRouche people and stuff like that, is they believe these certain things can be, can be obtainable. Does that mean you're a full-blown Engels or Marxist socialist? No. None of these kids in the street who call themselves socialists, not many of them, really even know who Engels is and are not ready to swear by the Communist Manifesto. However, they do want to see a society where the corporations aren't robbing everybody and they have a good workforce, a decent standard of living, healthcare, and housing. They want that, and they believe that through central planning and certain governmental programs, that could be obtained. They believe that they're more compassionate. Are they a little naive? This is where the conservatives come in, where they say, okay, they want that too, but to think that too much centralized power is a way of that's happening, it's quite the opposite. That's what they're saying. They have a point, right? So even though they believe in capitalism and free markets and stuff, there's still a lot of these capitalists out here that are on Social Security and getting a check, and they get to enjoy a lot of things that socialism does provide, like a fire department in case their house gets burnt, or cops to show up when it gets robbed. So this conversation right here from Zoran Mamdani winning is important. That's something to interject. It's not the biggest point, which you pointed out, which is the fact that the anti-Semitism shame game is not going to work anymore. And I mean, it's more than just a feeling that, oh, that's great, that's not going to work again. I believe there's a lot of people out there who have always been silent and quiet and not wanting to get involved into discussions or let their feelings be known because it is a Zionist point of view or a Jewish point of view. And they were afraid to push back against that because they would be called an anti-Semite. Well, that has now been watered down tenfold after Zoran, winning. And that's if, in fact, I'm saying, did he really win? Because if they let him win a New York primary and a very controlled election system, and the ballot access issues, the counting mechanisms and stuff. I mean, the last time that Mayor Adams won, they said that like 100,000 test ballots got into the system or were counted. There's so many different flaws there and stuff like that. The two things that we say we can now enjoy, the anti-Semitism shame game getting watered down, the socialism talk versus capitalism talk on the table. Maybe we can have conversations about that because people are talking about that too as well. You saw the news person say a socialist. But, the belief in the Democratic Party is coming back is the point we have to go and say, no. We have to realize who this cat is, who pays him, whatnot. And him winning, he's already, in my mind, he's made a backdoor deal with Wall Street or whatever to have certain things in play and to never push too far or go too far. So,
all right, we're okay. See, we're on the same page because I understand like it is a very nuanced thing with Zoran winning because but that's my fear is that he was allowed to win so that the rest of the country can look at use New York and say, oh, see, look, the deranged leftists are electing a socialist communist and that's why they allowed him to win so he can be the sacrificial lamb. And then I also have to ask myself, but wait a minute, why is Laura Loomer and Charlie Kirk really ramping up? Another 9/11's coming. Another 9/11
because they're retarded.
No, but beyond, I might need to swap a battery out. So you may lose my image here in just a sec. But they called out the media for saying that Trump was going to bring in Nazi-like changes and saying that that's what motivated the assassination attempts against him. They're doing the same thing right now to Zoran by saying he's going to cause another 9/11. These people are deranged as hell.
Yes.
For saying that shit.
That's the fourth point, by the way. That's the most shocking point is that they have been openly, you want to change your battery? You can do that. They've been openly racist to the nines. That much over the top, ridiculous, calling him a jihadist. Nick Sorter saying some crazy stuff. Benny Johnson, Jack Posobiec, Laura Loomer. All these people, they've exposed exactly who they are. And that is the fourth point I have. That's the most shocking point of this whole situation, which is, I think, is enough now to say you're completely done. You're out of gas. No more. This is the lesser of two evils. I try to tell people, Matt and Jose, I know you're listening, that when Hulk Hogan gets really pissed off because he's getting hit after he's getting beaten, that shit's fake. That's not real. You know what I'm saying? Stop believing in what you're believing in right now, that this is the lesser of two evils, that this is the way to go. No, they're both actors. This is kabuki theater. This is WWE wrestling. They're all retarded.
Yeah.
Yes, well, absolutely. Sorry, hold on. I got to switch to my laptop because it turns out my other battery's dead too.
You need to get a dummy battery.
Okay. So I want to catch people up that missed it. Jose made a references, and I think this was the big moment on the stage. So on one side of it, something pretty cool happened, right? That we have to acknowledge happened, even if there's something more devious and nefarious going on from this. But this was the moment on the stage. It's called the lightning round. If anybody missed it or didn't see it, the lightning round of the debate. I think this was the key moment that elevated him ahead, because a lightning round is you have to answer the question very quickly and it goes back, then it goes to the next person. They answer it, goes to the next person. Watch what happens. I got the clip. Jose, you mentioned this. I'm going to play this one. This, I think, was the moment that changed the campaign. Here we go. Lightning round in the debate.
First foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my fourth trip to Israel, followed by my fifth trip to Ukraine, two of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Just to be clear, this is not an SNL sketch, everyone. If you're just tuning in, this is not an SNL sketch. It would have been a great opening to an SNL show, but no, this is actually really happening. Okay, here we go.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel?
Wait, can I jump in? Can I jump in? Wait, this is a lightning round. You're not supposed to jump in. What are you talking about? You go to the next person. No, we're jumping in. We're jumping in, all right.
No,
As mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
As a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
He won't,
Okay.
he
Not
won't
as a
say it
Jewish
has
state.
a right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear
his
on
answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike
No,
you, I
you
answer.
never-
Unlike
you
you, I
never
answer
said
questions
no.
very
Okay.
directly.
All right.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's life work in this area means a lot to our family, and it could coincide with my young son Miles' bar mitzvah, if you'd like to have his bar mitzvah.
Okay, but
And live from New York, it's Saturday night.
Yeah, but that's so comical because, well, first of all, of course, it's even more comical that the next guy's like, my first trip would be to Israel.
Yeah.
I will do that. But my point is like, it just feels so set up for this guy to hit easy home runs, right? Yeah. You would have to be an idiot to not do what Zoran did. It's like they just set that up so easily for anyone to just be like, I'll just stay here. That is the media so stupid? I don't know. That they would just give him this easy win. I just don't know if I can trust Zoran.
No, you can't. You can't. They're going to set him up to be the first Muslim American head of the ticket to run for president of the Democratic Party. That's what this guy is being set up for. He understands the political environment. He knows how to navigate it well. Even that answer, I believe it has a right to exist as a state with equal rights, because a lot of people in the movement are done with this conversation and this argument about a two-state solution. The majority of people who are fighting for the Palestinian movement don't want a two-state solution. That's what they feel that they have somewhat right now, and it's just going to be the oppression of the Israelis against the Palestinians. They want a one-state solution. I mean, I know a lot of people on the left want right of return, and they want to give the land back over and stuff. But it is it's a moot talking point. In fact, there's been criticism about China only talking about two-state solution. They don't want that. So he understands. He's so politically savvy. And it's the economy, stupid, right? Have you seen his latest commercials? And he's way better than AOC was as far as being able to deliver a message and get it across. He's comical. He's out there with the microphone. He's talking about getting halal? Is that reduced down in price? And he's pointing out the red tape within and all the fuzziness in New York's economic environment. And he said, I'm gonna relieve that. He said in one of his commercials that he did that only 3% of small businesses. He went back to the old small private businesses argument. I mean, that's how smart this guy is. But like I said, and he said 3% of the people of the small businesses are using these programs. I'm going to show these people how to use these programs that we have that's going to cut the red tape in small businesses, and they're going to flourish. We're going to get their licenses that they're applying for that they've been waiting years for. We're going to take care of he is just so smart. But where his money is coming from, the fact that they let him win, the fact that he's getting all chummy with Schumer and AOC. And this is what I'm saying. People will go, well, he's got to do that, possibly. He's got to play within the Democratic Party to get things done. Like the game is 3D chess, that he'll say these things. He'll appease Chuck Schumer. He'll give the thumbs up and say AOC is great. He'll go on Jen Psaki and stuff like that. But when he gets in office, he's going to be a free roller, freelancing. Look what we have with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK. The way they were in their hearings is how they're behaving now. There was no 3D chess. When they show you your true colors, that's who they are. He's still a Democrat establishment lackey, and they're setting this guy up to go far. He's even better than Obama right now at his stage where he's at than where Obama was when he was a junior senator in Illinois. This guy is on par. He knows how to market. But don't be fooled. who's giving him his money, where's he coming from, and we haven't even cracked the surface of his COVID stance. And we'll get to that soon, too, as well, as we see a lot of that stuff coming out. I think they're trying to hide a lot of that stuff, and he's staying silent about it. But that's going to be something really out there. From what I understand, and I haven't gotten a source, is that he doesn't want to reinstate those New York workers who lost their job because they refused to get a shot and not give them the compensation. I don't know if it's true. I'm looking for a source. But from what I hear is that he is not going to do that, and that's a big no-no.
So before we get to, and I want, Jose, your response on this, but we don't need actually a crystal ball to look ahead and predict what he's going to do. It seems like he's already doing these things now before he gets in. And so Craig, your co-host, friend of the show, Fee, she tweeted this out. This is breaking. Color me shocked. Zoran Mamdani, who managed to get people finished with the Uniparty back cheering for Dems because he didn't bow down to Zionists, is now proposing an 800% increase in funding for hate crime prevention programs for the fearful Jewish folk and anti-Semitism. Here is it right out of his own mouth.
New Yorkers, like Jewish Americans, are fearful in this moment of anti-Semitism. They're fearful, especially after the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado. And they're fearful also in conversations that I have heard myself about life in this city. I spoke to a Jewish man in Williamsburg not too many weeks ago who told me about the fact that he now locks the door that he used to close, that he used to keep open for years because of a fear of who may come in. I spoke to a friend of mine after October 7th who told me about going to his synagogue for Shabbat services and hearing the door open behind him and turning around with a tremor going up his back, not knowing who was walking in and what they wished for them.
Just to be clear, he gives two examples of people's feelings and fears, but not actual incidences. Just, I feel like, and this is, by the way, this is the justification for the genocide in Gaza. It's, we have to kill them before they want to kill us. Well, you actually are killing them. You're murdering them. You're destroying families. You're destroying everything. They're tearing limbs off of children. Well, yeah, but I feel like they're going to do it to us. So our feelings are more important than real incidents. And I think it's here he's literally doing the feeling argument.
He's pivoting to the general, Matt. Yeah. He's pivoting to the general. It's a different. He already won the Democratic primary. He could be all the way and say Netanyahu shouldn't get arrested. Now he's pivoting for the general. That's what they're going to say. That's what his argument is going to be.
So this isn't good. So he won't go visit Israel, but he'll do all of the policies that New York needs to push up this 800% increase in whatever this hate crime funding is, which is to support the Jewish population. Obviously, it's the largest population other than Israel, and we know. But with that said, his policies are gonna reflect the thing that he was fighting against anyway. So what are we even talking about? And like you guys said, the cozying up to Schumer and the cozying up to AOC. What is even going on here? What are we even talking about anymore? I don't know. It was sad for me to see that transpire early when he hasn't even gotten in yet, and he's already doing. We got to help. We got to help out this Jew hate. That's the number one problem in the city is Jew hate.
Well, I don't know. To be fair, he might have been cornered in that interview. I mean, he's going to get a lot of that right now.
Okay.
Because I do think there is an old guard Democrat establishment that is going to try and gasp and say, forget this. I mean, they're going to try some play with Eric Adams here. I mean, the way I see it, he's running for mayor. I mean, it's a municipal government at the end of the day, not federal policy. And I think there's a bigger kind of issue here. You guys won't disagree with me when I say that Palantir is currently running a lot of our policy and surveillance state right now, and COVID was a big excuse to allow for the intrusion of surveillance state tactics to monitor people's medical records, because Palantir, I believe, was collecting a lot of this data and sorting it out now. So we are descending deep into a fascist state right now that's being run by our Silicon Valley overlords. All right. Zoran and people who are running for state and local government like to say, we need to make childcare more affordable. We need to bring public supermarkets. I'm not against that stuff. But that's like saying, let's make the boxcars to Auschwitz more comfortable, but it's like, well, wait a minute. Whoa. Where are we going? Where's this train heading? That's the thing I'm worried about right now. Where is this train heading to?
And you should be worried about that. But this is like, listen, as a journalist, they say, okay, Pasta, you really shouldn't be endorsing any candidates and stuff like that. And I know what people are talking about, like the fact that I'm endorsing you or I support you or I'm behind you. And well, not openly. Everybody knows that. I mean, not because you're my friend, because I believe in what you stand for, right? No, because I believe in what you stand for. And I believe that you are the best candidate. And I believe that you understand, you know what I'm saying?
Come on, make it official,
Look,
Craig.
You're doing it outside the two-party duopoly, and that's what has to be understood. No matter what Mr. Mamdani says at this point, nothing can be accomplished within the two-party duopoly. They'll not let you win. They control the election systems. They wouldn't let you win unless they knew you were going to play ball. So, like I said, they're setting this guy up to be the first Muslim American top of the ticket to run for president of the Democratic Party. That's what they're setting this guy up for. I don't know if they'll let him win, but if he is completely, I mean, the crazy thing is he's the only one who took the anti-Zionist stands and said he would have Netanyahu arrested. He did that during the primary, but every single other candidate on that stage was all about kissing Israel's butt, right? So it left the door open for him to win. But now, at this point right now, what they're trying to say is that he's pivoting. But like I said, these elections are already kind of captured, and it's not going to be that different than a Republican. They're going to give you different window dressing, but we also understand who also runs New York. It's Wall Street, and it's Wall Street and the military-industrial complex and all the big businesses and big pharma. They control New York. Nobody does anything in New York without their say-so. So it's just smoke and mirrors, and we got to be prepared for this whole let's sheep herding people back into the Democratic Party, because I think they found their guy.
Yeah, there's a Twitter account. There's a Twitter account called the Democratic Tea Party, and they just followed me, And so right now, like I already can tell there's going to be a lot of pressure for me to try to drop out or be a Democrat in this race, because they want to get Richie Torres out so much. I'm making a declaration. I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere. First of all, and secondly, people should help me in my campaign. That I think if people actually want to see a real independent win for the anniversary of the founding of our country, 250 years next year, they should get involved with my campaign.
How many people live in your district?
About 1.1 million, I think, 1.2.
So you only got to knock on about 250,000 doors. You can do it.
Okay, well, if I start right now, maybe, but people could help me accelerate this process a little bit quicker. If one day I have to tell you the story of when I was like knocking on doors with the guy from the Gray Zone. Oh, sorry, his name
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Yeah, that was crazy. That was insane. We went to like the projects. We went to like the hardcore because he wanted to just interview regular people, and that was a hoot. But that's for another day. But anyway, if people want to come out and do that with us, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to get out to as many people about what you're doing, Jose, as possible. As I said at the beginning when we first brought you on here today, it's really about the independent space. I mean, that's why, even though, these little wins with Mamdani, but right now it's about reminding people there's a reason we left our party. There's a reason that we understood there's a duopoly. It's a uniparty. It's not a two-party system. And we need more voices like you. Absolutely. To stick it to both parties, to the uniparty together, especially when you're taking on literally a psychotic Zionist, which you're doing. And I think it's important that people find out about you, so they can definitely go to
votevega.nyc.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will just say, politics, I understand now. The thing is, hey, Zoran is young and very good looking. AOC was young and good looking. I'm working on it. We're working out, still dieting, but
good, man.
We're going.
Looking good, man. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But
no, you got to get the dummy battery for the camera, because the camera looks good when you have it. You're on a weird angle right now, but those dummy batteries are like $10. Order that tomorrow. Do you know about those things? They plug into the wall street. Yeah, you don't have to change the battery. It's like a battery piece that goes into your. What camera do you have?
A Lumix G7. You want to make a campaign contribution for it? Because we can write.
Yeah, a Lumix G7. All right, I'll send you the battery. You send me an address. I'll send you the dummy battery.
Yes, sir.
Lumix G. Let me write that down. Lumix G7. But No, I think also too your message is the most important thing. How are you going to do things for your people your constituents in your area and stuff? And it's always the economy, stupid, right? You have to start there first and you work your way backwards. But like I said, you have a lot of different people from different Latin cultures in your district and stuff like that. I think that you should also address some of their needs individually, one-on-one. I think that I don't know how you feel about migration. I think you have the same mentality as me. I don't know. Maybe we haven't really talked deeply about it, where a lot of these retard Republicans look at it as a very bad situation and a hindrance and a strain on our economy. I think it's great for our economy. I think it's what makes America great. My great-grandparents came here from Italy. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes this country amazing. So, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. Your message is solid. But, I mean, did you see Zoran's last couple of videos, too, as well, when he's inside the delis now and the small businesses? This guy is like, he's hitting it on the nose. He understands what's getting people's attention. Now, will he do these things? No, I think it will be all hot air because the Democratic Party and their donors won't allow these things to happen. But he knows exactly what to say. The difference between him and you is that you can say those same things if you believe in them, but you can actually try to fight for them whether you're in office or not. He's just going to give us hot air. And that's the beautiful thing about Jose Vega's campaign is that if he believes in these things, you see his grit and his grime. He'll go out there and get in people's faces. So he'll go and fight for these things. And that's the benefit, whether you believe it or not, when everybody tells you it's the problem that you're not running in the Democratic Party. No, that's the power that you possess because you are running as an independent.
What a great spokesperson you are, Basta. You're like,
I told you, man, I'd like to be your campaign manager in a lot of ways. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I want to continue to do this. And that it's just it's a, what's the word? A contradiction of sorts if I were to go be your spokesperson. But I mean, everything that I agree with a lot of things that you are, you know what I'm saying, that you stand for. I wish you'd have a better stance on marijuana. But other than that, we could,
I almost made a joke that my campaign.
As long as you don't hold it against me as a constitutional right to do that, then I'm fine.
You could do with that. That's okay. You have a legal right to go and make yourself high. So
yeah.
Before you get going, Jose, I wanted, because you brought this up twice today, and I just want to see, ask you if this has been part of any of your campaigning as far as your, what's in your platform. Not that you could do much about it, but as far as educating people about Palantir. That seems to be so important right now, and might be, and in my opinion, it seems to be a connector for people who are stuck on either the Democrat Republican side. If they understand that both parties are 100% on board for this, because it is a Zionist company, and it's being implemented in every aspect of what we're doing. I pulled this. I want to bring this up. People don't know. We talk about Palantir all the time on the show, but this is. And that's Alex Karp there at the top right here. And it's mass surveillance under Palantir, the tech company. It has the direct ties with the U.S. military, ICE, and the IDF. So whether you're a Democrat, Republican, you have certain concerns. The Democrats generally are in this battle against ICE right now. They don't understand this is the same AI technology they're using to target immigrants right now. That's all the raids that happen in LA. It's because of Palantir. The attack on Iran is Palantir. So that it's happening domestically, it's happening in our foreign policy. So it's everywhere. And if anybody's heard this guy speak, he's all he talks about is punishing your enemy. And the enemy is on the homeland. It's here. The enemy is anybody protesting in the street. So this is both parties. And with that said, we heard that, here's a reveal that Rolling Stone did. It's that Stephen Miller has financial stake in this company with the ICE deportations. Do you think this is something that could maybe get a conversation going? Have you been talking about this? Does it get people that have been 100% in the street with the people being targeted by ICE? Let them know that this is the thing that they're all behind. Not to mention our war agenda and how we target people. The IDF uses it too. We use it for all of our attacks. It's this stuff is on both sides of the aisle completely. Have you been talking about it?
Yeah. So, well, of course, we actually have a leaflet that this Saturday we're going to be going out, and if people want to join us, votvega.nyc. But this Saturday we're giving out a leaflet titled "Will There Be Thermonuclear Fireworks by the 4th of July?" And it talks about how this Operation Mosaic, was it right, that fed this intel to from Palantir to the IAEA, right, saying like, oh, we have intelligence that Iran definitely is building a nuclear weapon, and they're just hours away. They're almost done. And it turns out it was all fake. That was all Palantir run and led. and that's in our leaflet. And that's like a big part of what we're trying to do. One of the statements I put out after Mamdani's win was, okay, great. Are people now awake enough and ready to deal with the descent into fascism through Palantir, controlling and centralizing all of your information, non-Americans and Americans alike, into influencing how you think over the next 2 years? So absolutely, it is something that is a conversation starter and something that we are absolutely trying to bring to the
Can you do me a favor, Jose? Can you say, you said it, descend into fascism, right?
Okay, we're in fascism?
No, techno-fascism, please. You can say techno-feudalism, but say techno-fascism because it is big tech. Now, say techno-fascism consistently because that's what it is. You hit it on the nose when you talked about the COVID situation, the way they can get all this data mining through your health records now, and that's what they did to a lot of people in the Democratic Party on the left. Well, on the right, they're going to try to do it through immigration, right? You have to get a real ID and stuff like that because immigrants are stealing our elections. So get your real IDs, get on the grid that way. But it's techno-fascism. And really, to tell you the truth, I think if you put that techno in front of it, it really will hit home because you've hit it on the nose so hard, you did. And the whole thing is that I think that way that Mamdani speaks about these things, like he said, yeah, I believe that Israel has a right to exist as a state with equal rights. Those things are important. So if you add those little caveats, techno-fascism, because that's what it is. Some people will say it's techno-feudalism. I think that's down the road. But right now it is techno-fascism. And one of the fascists, the corporations controlling the state, one of those techno-corporations, Palantir, right?
Yup, that's exactly right. And Alex Karp, I mean, what Max Blumenthal did in confronting them at the AI Expo was just brilliant. Yeah, it was brilliant. That and then he goes and then he writes about them. Like, that's what a journalist should do. That's like good, hard-hitting stuff there.
By the way, are you on the ballot or is it a write-in?
No, well, the period to get me on the ballot doesn't start until April of next year. Remember, we had to collect 10,000 signatures last time.
So this election is next year?
Yeah, till November.
November 2026? Perfect.
Yeah, so,
that's good. You have a long time to run. You're going to need all that time. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you catch fire between here and there. I definitely think your conversations are headed in the right place. You know what I'm saying? We broke bread many a times. We broke tortillas together in New York.
Yeah, come back. There's a nice
a lot of great conversation. So
there's a good Mexican place here called La Morada. You should check it out. It's in the South Bronx, 140th and Willis Ave. Very good place.
What do they specialize in? Mole?
Yeah, their mole is really good. Mole is really good. I
love mole.
Anyway, thank y'all, gentlemen, for having me on. It was truly a pleasure, and I guess I'll see you whenever you ask me to come back on again.
Absolutely.
Just remember that I'm going to go out to a event that you have, and I'm going to get the whole crowd going. Jose, 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 Jose. That's what they did for Jose Reyes back in the days, baby. It's New York. It's there. It's catchy. They're going to know. Those things are important, man. Remember who's voting, right? It's the average voter is not. I hate to use the term low-informed voter, but it's because a lot of people are just they're concentrating on putting a roof over their head, paying their bills, getting their children fed, and they don't have a lot of time to go down the rabbit holes and know the things we know. But that's also the great thing. They go to your rally, they're going to get educated because Jose knows how to educate people on the facts and on the issues. Vote Vega 26. We'll see you there at the polls.
Damn right. Damn straight. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jose. I'll see you next time.